If you're a reseller who flips items online with the intention of making money, then you're not just a reseller, you're a business owner. Understanding who you are and what role you play in that business will dramatically change the way that you see reselling. Because instead of thinking, why isn't this working? You'll be able to say, this is exactly how it works in business. The good news is I've had the pleasure of running several successful businesses. And what I found is that most business advice is true across all industries, including reselling. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you 5 exact steps that you can take to turn yourself from a casual reseller to acting like a business owner. Number 1 is quicker response times. Successful businesses, especially those at scale, which is what most of us are aiming to do, all have their own customer service department. But when you are a business owner and you run this solo, you are the customer service department. Customer service is heavily focused on many successful businesses, and it's because your end goal is to make that customer happy so that they come back. Quicker response times in reselling means that you're getting to a customer's questions pretty much as soon as they ask it, or at least as soon as possible. It also means responding to their offers as soon as you possibly can, as well as sending out offers, which now there are tons of tools that allow you to do that automatically, which you will want to do in order to capture the interest of your customer closer to when they're actually interested in the item. For every tool that I've ever used with offers, I set it to the shortest possible setting from when a buyer likes the item to when that offer gets sent. I also saw a dramatic sales increase when I shortened the amount of time from when a customer was asking a question to when I actually responded to them. And it's for the same reason as offers. Your customer becomes less interested the more time they have to wait for you to overcome those hurdles for them. And so quick response times are vital in a business because it doesn't allow the customer to go looking to your competition for a solution. Number 2 is research, not reaction. I think that this one really applies to right now because we're having so many platform changes in some really crazy times like Q4. And then also every single year there are price increases, whether it is fees, whether it is shipping charges, doesn't matter. Change is the only thing that stays the same. And we should expect those as business owners. Instead, what I see a lot of the reselling community doing is reacting to the changes. But they should know that they're coming, right? Instead of having a knee-jerk reaction to whatever happens to your business, whether it is your fault or it's out of your control, this is a strategy that actually requires for you to think about it without taking action first, because knee-jerk reactions do not produce good results. We should be asking ourselves, is this the right time to react? I'm thinking about, for instance, all of the Poshmark changes that just happened, right? We were told that they're switching up their algorithm, and so that everybody freaked out and started trying to redo their listings, only to realize that Poshmark was making many more changes later, which means that all of the effort that you might have put into editing your listings may not even be the case here in a couple of weeks because they're going to change more stuff. So it's really hard to kind of settle out and see where the algorithm is going to land. And so being able to pull yourself out of that knee-jerk reaction, take a look at it as a whole and ask yourself, is this actually the right time to react? And if so, when do I react and how do I react? What's actually the best for my business despite how I might feel in the moment? If you're paying really close attention to your reselling business and to the platforms, usually you can tell that changes are about to happen beforehand. And this is where research comes in, and also trying to get ahead of things and having a backup in place so that when the time comes and those changes happen, you're not scrambling, freaking out about how your business is going to run smoothly because you've already decided how that's going to go. Instead of reacting with emotion to these problems that we probably are not going to be able to change, what can we do now to work with these existing problems, knowing that they're not going to be removed? You could spend just as much time creating a solution as you could complaining online. Number 3 is pricing competitively. This is something that every major business does, but for some reason in reselling, we have a really hard time letting our items go for less than what we think they should. Other industries understand that there are fluctuation in supply and demand. And so when you go on, let's say eBay, you do a comp for an item and you think you've got the item priced competitively, chances are that here in a couple of weeks, the demand is going to change and so is the pricing. So it's really important to have things set up not only to initially price competitively, but also things set up to phase pricing down as time goes on. Most companies do not keep stock past 1 quarter. And so they'll often, after about 3 months, which 90 days, right? It all kind of lines up. After a quarter is when things start getting clearanced out. And from all of the companies that I've ever worked in, all of them try to operate with getting that stuff clearanced out in the matter of a couple of weeks. They want to get it out and break even. Sometimes they'll even lose money just to get that money back. And it's because they understand something that most resellers don't, which is cash flow is so important. It is one of the most important things in your business, and yet we don't focus on it enough. By pricing competitively, not just initially, but also having a plan in place to be competitive in the future as those items demand drop will always ensure that your cash flow is remaining steady and that you're able to reinvest into things that are now in demand instead of holding on to that inventory and holding on to your initial cash investment. That $50 item that you keep holding on to is a $20 offer that you could take $20 on and reinvest over and over and over again over the next year versus holding on to that item hoping it'll sell for $50 and then eventually selling it a year later for 50. Cash flow will always win out because you can reinvest that money. Number 4 is create a system for flaws. This is actually something that I am dealing with right now. We have found ourselves back in a place where we've been a little too lenient on picking up items with flaws and trying to now figure out what we're going to do with them. You want to have a system for dealing with damaged items. This is another area where resellers become way too emotionally invested instead of being business minded and doing what actually moves the product. Just because you bought an item does not mean it is worth your time to list. In some cases, you're actually going to save money throwing that item in the trash or redonating and losing that $5 investment than spending all of your time listing an item that isn't going to sell, is going to charge you listing insertion fees every single month for it to maybe sell. It's simply not worth it sometimes. And so you want to have a process that removes the emotion out of that and ask yourself, what am I going to do with damaged product when I end up having it? Obviously, you want to initially put things in place to try and avoid picking up damaged items, but if you've got them in hand, what can you do with them? Most companies have a very clear process on what they do with their damaged items, and almost every company does not even sell damaged product. If there is a little damage at all, usually that gets thrown away or put back into some kind of a damage program to be shipped back to the manufacturer. So what is your system for dealing with damaged inventory? Do you go ahead and list it? Does it sit in a pile and you hope you'll get to sewing those holes or washing those items someday? Would it be easier for you to just consider those a loss and move forward? And the last one, and probably the most important, is considering your customer when you are marketing. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see resellers making when they are sourcing and when they are listing. And it's that they're trying to describe items the way that they see them instead of the way that the customer is actually looking for them. If you've ever walked into a physical store, the layout of that store was actually determined by years to decades worth of buyer insights and how their shopping habits have evolved over time. What do most people do when they walk into a store? Where do they go? How do they interact? What do they read? What do they see? Even down to the color and the fonts that they use on their signs and even their pricing. It is all surrounding data on what most customers are looking for and what they're most likely to buy. In reselling, it seems like we don't consider our customer as much as other businesses do, and I think it is one of the reasons why we're not making as many sales as we could be. In your reselling business, the most impactful place that this can be applied is when you actually source, when you're picking up items to flip, and how you actually sell that to your customer. First, you want to consider, is this something that a buyer is actively searching for? Not just one buyer, but a likely buyer? Are there tons of people looking for items exactly like the one that you have? There has to be a demand. And before you even pick the item up, you should be asking yourself, what features are they going to like or dislike about this item? I usually phrase this, what features add value or what features decrease value in this item for the buyer that's most likely to purchase it. Once you've run the item through those tests and you still decide to purchase it, then it's time to actually sell it to your customer. You want to be thinking about what keywords would they actually be searching to find an item like this one, or what keywords could you be using in order to elevate the item when they see that title? Sellers who sell the same or similar items but are getting completely different results is exactly because of this issue. One understands the customer and one doesn't. So in every single thing that you do, consider your customer first, and it will help you to make better decisions on buying and listing. If this video resonated with you and you would like to hear more, don't forget to subscribe down below and hit that notification bell, because running a reselling business is all I talk about on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.